AyePeewee, kill them keys, huh?
What's good, YouTube? Today I got a new video for y'all. In this video I'm gonna show you guys how to improve on your pain loops. I'm gonna show you guys how to improve on your sound selection and improve on your mixing. But yeah, we're gonna hop straight into it. I don't want to keep you guys too long on the intro, so here we go. Alright, so to start off the tutorial, I'm gonna play the loop for you guys real quick, and then I'm gonna go through, break down each sound, break down the mixing on it, and give you guys some tips to help you. So this is the loop right here. It's a rod wave type of loop. Alright, so like I said, this is pretty much a rod wave loop. It's bright, it's melodic, but it still has that pain vibe. You can kind of get an R&B vibe from it too, but definitely more on the pain vibe. Alright, so this first instrument is the JX3P from Roland. It's an electric piano, and the chord progression is 2-6-5, and we're in D minor. So this is the chord progression with the electric piano right here. So real basic, nothing too crazy. It's just giving the vibe of the melody. Started off real nice with that sound selection, and then I layered this with a piano out of Keyscape, the LA Custom C7 Bright. I went to the EQ and put the D noise on strong, and I basically just copied the same melody. But a note that I want to give you guys is when you're playing piano, you want to spread across the board. You don't want to be in one frequency too long, because it'll just sound boring and stale. So I started off in like a middle octave, and then I moved up to the higher keys to give it a contrast to the first part of the loop and just make it a little more melodic and brighter. So this is what the piano sound like right here. Now this is when you start to really get the vibe of the melody. Like, you got it with the first instrument, but once you add that piano, it just definitely adds that melodic feel to it. It definitely gives it that pain vibe now. So the next instrument is a lead out of Triton, the Korg Triton, and it's a basic R&B synth lead, or a lead synth, whatever you want to call it. But that's the preset right there. And all I did was play, like, just a little melody line on top. Something real basic, nothing too crazy. Now, to come up with good melodies and melody lines, all you gotta do is just go with the scale basically and just play with it. Like, find your own sound, do your own thing. Please don't copy and paste, please. Have your own sound, figure out what works for you, you feel what I'm saying? But this is all it is right here. I'm gonna play it real fast. It's real basic, it's nothing too crazy. I added some bends at the end and just did some little runs in the beginning. So this is the lead melody right here. Feel what I'm saying? Nothing too crazy. Like I said, what you want to do is find some nice melody lines that work in the scale. You feel what I'm saying? Like, play with the scale, do some different notes, try some different patterns, do some different runs. You feel what I'm saying? Just experiment, and then do bends, do little pitch bends, and then it'll all come together. Just play with it first before you try to just jump in and do the first idea. You want to come up with multiple ideas and pick out of those ideas. So that's just a quick tip that I usually do. I start playing around with the scale, doing bends and stuff, and once I hear something that matches and that's catchy and clicks, that's usually what I'm gonna go with. So that's how I came up with that melody right there. I started off and it was just real catchy, moved down a little octave, did the same thing basically, and then I started doing bends at the end. But for the next sound, it's just a bass line out of Contact, the Scarby Rickenbacker bass. Y'all know this is my go-to right here. The preset is called On the Road. I usually don't use this preset, but I'm starting to go through and use more presets than just Night Session or the Raven and stuff like that. So this is the bass line right here. Nothing too crazy. All I did was add little transition notes and do a little more and do more runs at the end to give it more of a build up. You feel what I'm saying? So this is the bass line right here. Alright, so this is just gonna add more depth to the melody, you feel what I'm saying? Usually I add a bass line, but sometimes I don't add a bass line. And with picking bass sounds, depending on the vibe that I'm going for, is gonna determine if I'm gonna use a Moog bass, like a more synth, you know, bass feel, you feel what I'm saying, more R&B vibe, or if I'm gonna use like an acoustic bass guitar from Contact. So yeah, sometimes, like I said, I don't even use a bass line if it's not needed, but usually I'm gonna use like acoustic bass. But now we have this ambient one shot that I usually use. It's out of my drum kit. This is what it sounds like right here. So it's real simple, nothing too crazy. All I did was soak it in reverb basically. And then we got this bell melody, and the bell preset is out of Xenology. It's like an R&B bell. This is what it sounds like right here. Alright, so now I'm gonna play what we got so far so you guys can see what it's starting to sound like. I'm gonna start in the middle right here. So as you can see, the melody is coming along real good because the sound selection is good. You basically got a Rhodes and a piano layer, a lead, a bass line, and some bells for the verse. So that's how you come up with good sound selection. You don't want to do too much. Like if I were to get to add in a bunch of different stuff on top of this, it'll sound weird. But you're gonna see what I add later on in the loop to help it out, but not do too much. So this is the pad that I usually use out of Omnisphere called Pillowy Pad Piano. And all I did was turn the piano layer off. I didn't touch any other knobs right there. And all I did was copy and paste the first melody from the electric Rhodes or the electric piano, and I just threw it on here. So this is what it sounds like. So it definitely helps with the melodic ambience of the melody, gives it some support for the electric piano and the piano. And once it's added all together, it just sounds real nice and bright. Alright, so this next part is out of Splice. It's just the vocal chops. All I did was chop up the end because it was a little off beat, but I got this vocal chop from Splice. I didn't really do too much to flip it. I kind of liked how it was already. Like I said, all I did was just make it more on beat. So this is what it sounds like. Now, if you aren't using Splice or Arcade for your vocal chops and you're using, you know, samples and stuff like that, that's cool. But Splice and Arcade is usually royalty free. I think it's always been royalty free. So that's what I usually use for my vocal chops. And then I just go through, chop it up. You know, I might throw my own effects on it, or I might leave it dry. You feel what I'm saying? If the effects are already good on there. But yeah, all I did was just chop it up real simple. Didn't really do anything, but like I said, just make it more on beat. So the next thing we got is a basic string melody, nothing too crazy. All I did was copy the chord progression. The strings are out of SRX Orchestra from Roland, and it's called the slow resin strings. And this is the chord progression right here. Alright, so like I said, with the piano thing, you know, you want to start off in the middle octave and then move up to the bright octaves, you feel what I'm saying? Especially with strings, you know, give it that contrast on one part being darker and the other part being a little brighter. And all I did was find some good chord voicings that help the melody out, you feel what I'm saying? I didn't copy and paste the same thing I did from the pad in the electric piano. All I did was just find some nice chord voicings that help accompany the piano and give it that brightness, that feeling that's just gonna accompany the whole melody without doing too much, because sometimes strings can be doing too much in your melody. So all I did was just play some nice little chords. Alright, so the next instrument is just a perk loop from Splice. All I did was chop it up at the end right here to make it repeat, so it'll give it a different feeling before it drops. And then I put a love filter on it and the EQ, and this is what the percussion loop sounds like right here. Alright, so the reason why I added the EQ and the love filter on it is to give it a little dimmer feel, because once you add all these instruments together, it can be too much with the perk loop doing its thing, and then, you know, the lead trying to do its thing, and then the bass line trying to do its thing, and then you still got the piano trying to do its thing. So that's why I dimmed it down a little bit, but it still sounds pretty good, and it gives it a little more bounce for whoever clicks on the email. When, you know, they don't have no drums on it, I just throw a perk loop on it basically to give it the bounce to the loop and show them how I want it to kind of sound. And then the next thing I added was just some birds. Nothing too crazy, just gives it some texture. I mean, this loop really ain't too complicated. I really don't like doing too much. Like I said, it's just about sound selection and just, you know, arranging everything correctly and just having the right layers. So a quick tip I can give is, like, for pain loops, all you gotta do is find that first sound that's gonna make sense, whether that be the piano, the Rhodes, the guitar, or it could be a pluck, you feel what I'm saying? But those are really the go-to things right there: the pluck, the guitar, the piano or Rhodes. That's all I really use. And then sometimes I really layer all of that together, and if I don't layer that together, I'm just gonna use a piano most of the time. And then you want to have, you know, a good bass. If that doesn't work, you know, if it's not needed, you don't have to have a bass all the time, but usually I'm adding a bass line in there. And then I want top keys, a little synth lead or a lead guitar, some vocal chops, and just ambient stuff like a string or some pads or something like that. And then just a percussion loop, and then that texture, rather that be rain, people talking, or birds or something like that. That's a quick tip I could give you guys. You know, just basically have your layers, you know, nothing too crazy, real simple. Have each thing accompany the next thing, you feel what I'm saying? Because sometimes you could do a lot, and then if you are doing a lot, just spread it out. Like, make sure you have a part for the intro, part for the hook, part for the verse, the second part of the verse, and then the pre-hook, you feel what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna do a lot, just spread it out. So as far as the mixing goes, the first sound with the JX 3P, which is the electric Rhodes, I got some vintage verb on here. I put a Bright Hall 1970s on the color, turn the low cut up. Didn't want to drown it out in reverb, so I put the mix level on 36.4. And then, hold on, let me turn this freaking hissing off, bro. I was wondering what that noise was. So the next thing I did was just EQ. boost up some lows, boost up the highs a little bit, took out some lows. Then I threw a delay on there, an imager. I think this is multi-band depth on the preset, and then pan man right there. Then for the lead, all I did was EQ some highs, threw vintage chorus on it, the Juno 106 mode 2 preset. This is the vintage verb right there. All I did was go through each preset and find which one I want. Like I said in my other video, all you gotta do is just turn the mix knob up all the way and then find the preset you want to understand what it's doing. And then for the delay, it's like that. Pan man, just turn up the width, turn up the smoothing, mess with the rate. I usually use the default rate right there, and then I just turn down the mix level on the side. And then for the piano, I added multi-band depth on the ozone imager, and then I added the EQ, boosting a little bit of the frequencies, nothing too crazy. Some more reverb. Like I said, I just go through, leave the mix knob on 100, go through each preset, and then find out what I want, and then I mess with the low cut and the high cut. I usually don't mess with anything else unless it's the decay right there, but that's all I really do. All this stuff is pretty basic and simple. Another thing I want to mention for the JX3P, now I have a preset over here. I'm gonna show you guys each thing on here, and this is using the Sound Toys VSTs and Waves VSTs right here. So I'm gonna go through each preset and show you guys what I got. So the first thing is the little radiator, second thing is like an EQ from Waves, and then we got compressor, I think, and then we got another compressor right here. I think this is this is a compressor. And then I just got an EQ if I want to EQ some stuff. But all this does is make it sound more analog. So I'm gonna show you guys what it sounds like with and without it. So as you could tell, with it on, it sounds more full, you know. Nothing too crazy though. It just gives it like this analog effect. You feel what I'm saying? Gives it more of a warm feeling and adds more depth to the sound itself. Now for the next instrument is the Bassline. And all I did was EQ some of the lows. Like I told you, you know, if you want to EQ more lows into it, you can do that, but just turn the Bassline down, because the Scarby Rickenbacker bass is definitely a beefier bass. You feel what I'm saying? And then I just threw some reverb on there to make it sound like it's in a room. And then, you know, for the ambient sound, I really don't do too much. I just soak this thing in reverb and then put pan man on it and threw delay on it. Alright, so for the bell, all I did was throw vintage chorus on here. I got the Juno 6 mode 1 preset. And then I got the reverb right here from Vintage Verb. It's on room mode, color on 1980s. I didn't mess with any other knobs except for the decay knob right here. I turned the decay up to 13.03 seconds, and all it does is just add more sustain to it. And then I turned up the mix knob turned down the mix knob rather, to 39.2%. Threw an imager on it. I think I threw spacious high end, and then pan man right here. Turn the width up, the smoothing up, turn the rate down a little bit, turn the mix level down a little bit so it's not panning too hard. And now for the pad, all I did was throw effect rack on it. And this is the effect rack preset. Now I got this from Uncle Cameron, this preset right here from Uncle Cameron. For the EQ, all I did was boost the mid frequencies and the higher frequencies. I boosted them really hard because the pad without it sounds kind of bland. I'm gonna show you guys the pad without the EQ on it right here. Alright, so with the pad on it, it sounds like this. So it definitely makes it sound way brighter, especially with the effect rack on it. So without the effect rack and the EQ on it, it would sound really bland. It would still be cool, but it would sound bland. And then I threw delay on it, just turned the time knob to the middle, didn't touch anything else. This is the Vintage Verb preset that I threw on there. And then I just boosted up some lows and some mids down here to make it sound a little more fuller. Alright, for the vocal tops, all I did was take out the lows, boost up some of the highs. I threw vintage verb on there. Got the bright hall mode, the 1980s on the color. I left the other knobs basically default, and then I turned up the low cut. I don't think I messed with the high cut. I turned down the mix knob to 17.6. And then the delay, this is the delay right there. This is the imager right here. I think I did gentle width on the preset from Ozone. And then I EQ'd some harsh frequencies out. Boosted up the highs a little bit. Took out the lows. And then threw a plate on there to make it sound a little bit more brighter. With the reverb, make it sound a little bit more wide too. Cause the reverb, it just gives like, you know, it adds reverb, but I feel like the plate, if you add plate onto it, it gives it like a bright reverb to it, like colored basically. It gives it like this shine, if I could describe it like that. You feel what I'm saying? Like reverb makes it wider, and then the plate gives the reverb more shine to it basically. If that's the best way I could describe it, that's how I would describe it. You feel what I'm saying? And then for the strings, nothing too crazy on there, just multi-band depth. I think I did a gentle width. I EQ'd the frequencies. I boosted most of them like this with this knob. Boosted the mids, boosted the highs, didn't do anything to the lows for real. And for the reverb, all I did was put the color on now to give it more of a brighter feel. Put the mode on plate to give it a clean vibe with the reverb. And then I didn't touch anything else except for the low cut. Turn the low cut up to 370 hertz. Turn the mix knob down to 23.2. And that's it for the strings right there. Alright, so for the perk loop, the processing on this is pretty simple. Like I said, to dim it down, all I did was take out a lot of frequencies from the low and the high end. And then I threw a Fruity Love filter on there. This is the basic preset, the default preset. Threw Pan Man on there. Turn the width up, turn the smoothing up, then mess with the rate. Turn the mix level down. Some reverb, some delay. I turned the delay up so it'll last a little longer once it cuts off at the end right there. And then I threw a flanger on it. I threw the basic Fruity Course on there. I forgot to add it back in when I reloaded the project. And then I threw some EQ on there, which is taking out some high end, boosting up some mids, some lows. And then for the birds, this is a recording out of my phone, so I had to EQ a lot of the low end out. Throw some reverb on there, throw Pan Man on there to make it sound like the birds are around you. Threw some delay on there. So the mixing tips, like I said, is really simple. I just use reverb, EQ, and chorus, like basic stuff. Use Pan Man a lot. Nothing too crazy. I use Pan Man to, you know, make things move around from side to side in your headphones or in your speakers. I use the Ozone imager to give things depth or more width or stuff like that to just form the sound how I want it in the mix. The reverb that I use is always going to be Valhalla Vintage Verb because it just has so many presets in there and it sounds clean. You feel what I'm saying? Like you can really pick the perfect preset with Valhalla Vintage Verb instead of like Fruity Reverb or something like that. But other than that, it's really basic mixing. And like I said, for this aux track right here, for the JX3P, it just gives it a more of an analog feel. And I got this idea or this preset basically from another YouTube video that I'm gonna link down in the description. Shout out to the dude who came up with this video to show how to make the sound more analog. But yeah, this really the whole loop right here. I'm gonna play one more time. Pretty basic rod wave loop, basic on the mixing, and I just wanted to show you guys like the sound selection and how I came up with everything and how you guys can improve by just having good sound selection, not doing too much in the melody, and just going through and mixing it simple, you know, add reverb, add EQ and stuff like that, polish the sounds, form the sounds with the imager and things of that nature. But this is the loop right here, and then that's gonna be the end of the video. Alright, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you guys want to see. I'm going to be doing more content like this. I'm going to be uploading more consistently. I just kind of threw this video up to give you guys some quick tips on your mixing, on your loops, on your pain loops or whatever. I got a loop kit that dropped recently, so if you guys want to check that out, the link will be in the description. Drum kit will be in the description. Everything that you guys can use from me will be in the description, as far as loops and sounds and things of that nature. But like I said, if you guys like the video, leave a thumbs up on it, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you guys want to see. But I'm out.